Hey guys, this is Holden, and I wanted to do a video about what transgender is, because I realize that I use a lot of terms in my videos or like in some of my articles, and you might not know what they mean. So I'm going to just explain a couple of things. I'm going to first use a Wikipedia definition of transgender, just as a reference of what you might be finding on the internet when you Google something. Transgender is the state of one's gender identity or gender expression not matching one's assigned sex. Transgender is independent of sexual orientation. Transgender people may identify as heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, etc. The idea of transgender being something that does not match up with your assigned sex is important when you're talking about someone transitioning, but it can also be limiting, because trans with an asterisk, which is kind of sort of a new thing. I think it's been being used in the past maybe 5 years, maybe even less than that. That is more of an umbrella term. Trans with an asterisk, which is what I like to identify as, opens gender up completely for the most part. You can identify as anything that's not cisgender with trans with an asterisk. Cisgender is someone whose gender matches up with their assigned sex, if we're using that sort of terminology. Cisgender would be, for example, a woman identified woman, as in their sex is female and they identify as female. Relatively simple. Transgender might be someone whose biological sex is male, but they identify as female, for example. This gets more complicated when you get into anything in between, because gender is not binary. Gender is not female and male. It's all just swimming around. You can be anything you want. My personal belief is that there are as many genders as there are people on the planet, because everybody has their own different ways of expressing themselves and expressing their gender and identifying. So, for example, let me look at some different terms. For example, trans with an asterisk encompasses transgender, transsexual, genderqueer, gender fluid, non-binary, genderless, agender, non-gendered, third gender, two-spirit, etc. It can really be anything that you want it to be. And that's what makes me feel most comfortable, because then I do not feel limited in my own gender or gender expression or anything. I can just be myself. I can wake up and be a human being. And that's what I think is very liberating about trans with an asterisk. So my point is, transgender can be whatever you want it to be. Anyone can be trans. I think everyone is a different gender. So take that for what you will. Another important point that's in the Wikipedia article is that trans has nothing to do with your sexual orientation. So just because I'm trans masculine person does not mean that I'm only going to date females or feminine people. That has nothing to do with it. A trans man can date another trans man, a trans woman, a cis woman, a cis man, and everything in between. Because gender is not limited, sexual orientation is also not limited, which is also why I like the term queer. And I identify as trans with an asterisk and queer because they're both umbrella terms. Because queer means basically not straight, in the same way that trans with an asterisk means not cisgender. I hope that makes sense. I think that's it. Short and sweet. If you have any questions or want any sort of clarification, just shoot me a message, leave something in the comments. See ya.